Appreciate that. All right, so Nasser, Coach Nasser, how's your energy today?
Alhamdulillah, I am great.
Did you sleep good?
I slept well, thank you.
Okay, very good. I was busy working late night
I understand.
and slept late, and then I woke up very early in the morning, and I'm gonna need your help today to
Inshallah,
co-pilot.
of course.
Okay, and we're gonna be both doing this navigation. What I really want you guys to understand what is navigation is basically, first of all, I want all of you guys to log into your terminal. Let me see over here. How many of you are logged in over here? We got 40 people logged in. But I highly appreciate if you guys can log in to the terminal and just be in the terminal, please. Okay, some people are using iPad. That's okay. You can have me on the iPad and you can use your machine to connect to the terminal. But honestly speaking, it would be very beneficial to you to get a second display. Okay, I need to quickly go and bring my digital pen for my laptop. Nasser, if you can talk about while I am away for 1 minute, if you
Sure,
can talk about the importance of navigation, what is
sure,
navigation? Um, why do we need to understand the navigation? And I'll be back in literally 2 minutes, okay?
sure. No worries.
Thank
Right.
you.
You're welcome. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Sat Sri Akal. Buenas tardes. Ni hao ma. Shava shondha. Namaste. And assalamu alaikum. Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I hope everybody's doing well. Uh, again, this is something that this is a way of greeting. So I say this to everyone. Please accept it the way it comes. Okay. Anyway, so the navigation part. Yeah, navigation is, folks. It's think of it this way. Uh, if you don't know how to drive a car, you can't get anywhere. So you got to learn how to drive. So essentially, this is driving. This is the foundation of you to do anything on Linux. Anything that is sitting somewhere, you got to know where a file is, where a directory is, what is the difference between a file and directory, and the information, as we call it, metadata. You have to know that. And this is exactly why we are emphasizing, because this is the foundation that everything will be built upon. And if we don't have that in place, then obviously we're going to face hurdles. And many of you guys are going to face this hurdle at least for next, few sessions. That's about you're back. And you can go ahead, please continue from where you left
No, no,
off.
no, go ahead, go ahead. You have a good flow going there. Just want to show the PowerPoint, but go ahead. Please continue.
Yeah. So what I was saying was that we do need to establish this foundation, because how are you going to manage users requires navigation. How are you going to make configurations requires navigation. How are you going to install packages requires navigation. How are you going to, troubleshoot requires navigation. Everything is based on navigation. So we must know how to do that. And that's why many of you, at least the ones that are good and they have comprehended or they've gotten the good grasp of navigation, they may find it very redundant, because now they have created this map in their, neural networks. They understand that. But those who are still kind of struggling, we must bring you guys up to the level too. You must give us that midnight oil. Okay. You must spend that time so you can bring yourself up to the level of understanding how to navigate around, move around. Otherwise, we're going to face a lot of challenges. So that's why we know every year we realize people struggle with this for at least few sessions. So that's why we are repeating this, and it's going to start getting annoying at some point, but we need to bring everybody, and no child left behind policy will always be in effect. Okay.
Excellent. Yes, definitely. No child policy will be there to protect your rights. We have 102 attendees for this class right now. We have 102 students logged in. Great, mashallah. Once again, reminder, some of you were not able to register on time due to maybe funds not being available, whatever your excuse has been, we have extended the Saturday and Sunday for you guys to join and register for the paid program. But today is the first day of the paid program. So I'm going to assume you guys don't know anything. Okay. So imagine we have a bare metal server right over here. This is our bare metal server. A bare metal server is basically a physical server. And this could be your Dell server or HP server. By the way, I have just requested Shahid Bhai to buy us some new fancy servers. Not that we don't have the latest ones, but I want to show you some high-end servers with maybe 96 cores and maybe 1 terabyte RAM. Because what I want to do is I want to provide you with the environment, production environment, where you're familiar with these high-end servers. When you go to the organization, Fortune 100 company, you're not scared to work on these servers. So we're in the process of getting those servers, and I'm going to need your help to build those servers with me so we can put them into VMware. So we're going to learn the basics of Linux first, then we're going to transition into the virtualization world. And then in the virtualization, we will, every single one of our student will have one VM, a virtual VM, virtual machine to work with. And then this is how you will be working at your job. So we want you to experience that day one. So this is my bare metal physical server, and it has certain resources and CPU, RAM, and hard drive. It's basically, these are the main resources. And now I have downloaded an ISO image. If you can remind me, what is an ISO image? ISO image is a one file that contains the whole OS installation. This is OS installation media. Okay. So it could be Windows, it could be Linux, but in this case, we've downloaded the ISO image from the Oracle website. Now, when we do the installation process, which we will do down the road, it's going to download all the files to the hard drive in the process of installation. During the installation process, the ISO file transfer all of these files onto your hard drive. Now, this hard drive, which basically you can represent as a box over here, right over here. This hard drive now has to save these files, and therefore it needs a file system. Okay. And the way Linux file system works is everything starts from the root directory, and the whole tree is under root. You have a lot of directories under the root directory. For example, you have a bin directory, you have sbin, you have /boot, you have /etc, you have /opt, you have /var, okay? You have /temp, okay? So if I pull up this slide over here, file system basically organizes, stores, and manages files and directories on storage device. Meaning, I have a hard drive attached to my physical server, and now that I am installing, I have installed Linux operating system. The Linux operating system, the way it stores files is basically this is the tree structure it has. Everything is under the root directory. You have all of these file systems under the root, And if I go here, right over here, your first directory is always root. Under root, you can see next to every single directory, you see root over there. That means the first directory is root, and under the root, you have different directories. So this is called Linux directory system. Just like in Windows, you have, if you open up your file explorer, you can see that at the end of the day, in your computer, there's a one hard drive, which is a C drive. And if you go into the C drive, so this is your top directory in Windows is C drive. And under the C drive, if I can take a snipping tool over here, and let me know wherever you lose me, stop me over there. It's very important that you understand. I'm doing the comparison here between Windows and Linux. So this is our Windows file system. Imagine we have a file system right over here for Linux. So the C in Linux is equal to this root directory, the slash, the forward slash. And now the C drive, if you look into the C drive, you have multiple folders over there. Just like in Linux, you have a root folder and you have multiple folders underneath that. So C in Windows is the starting point. That's the name of my hard drive. But Linux, basically, whatever the name of the hard drive is, I'm going to see all of my files and directories underneath this directory. Okay? Now, let's see what we have in the C drive. If I double click on this, this is what I have under the C drive. I have HP folder, I have Windows folder, I have users folder. So let me go ahead and put this over here. I have HP folder, I have Windows folder, I have users folder, and then I also have program files along with other folders. Okay, along with other folders. In Linux, what I have is, let me change the color for Linux over here. In Linux, I have /bin boot sbin. It's my choice of whether I want to put the slash over there or not. Sbin, I have etc, I have home, I have temp, I have opt, and many more. Okay, this is etc. So now in Windows, if I go into any of these folders, which is Windows over here, if you see my path is showing that I'm in C Windows. So let's see how the window shows us. If I go into this folder over here in Windows, and if I look at my path, the path would be C colon Windows. Pay attention. The slash over here is backslash. This slash, if I go into the boot directory in Linux, I use forward slashes, /boot, and then in this directory, I will see. So in Windows, I use the backslash. In Linux, I use the forward slash. So everybody's okay so far with this? Okay. So if I go down over here onto my PowerPoint, these are all the immediate directories that are found under the root file system. And we talked about all of these directories and what do they hold. Just like in Windows, when I went to the /Windows directory, right over here, Windows directory, These are all the files used by the operating system. You can see logs over here, Microsoft, migration. These are all the files used by the Windows operating system. And if I go to the users directory, I see all of my user accounts and their home directories, their home folders. Okay. But in Linux, as you can see, I have different folder for home directories. This is where the user's data is found. All the binaries, all the commands are found under the /bin. And then this is user root's home directory. And in order for the system to boot up, all of the booting files are under the /boot. So now let me ask you guys, what do you know about the /var? What do you guys know about the /var? What's found in the /var? /var has logs. Beautiful. And I'm not getting too much responses from you guys. I know my energy level is very, very low. What happened to you guys? Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, we could hear you well.
Oh, okay. Not getting too much responses over here. Just waking up. Okay. Still waking up. Okay. Very good. So Nasir bhai, how would you classify the /etc file system? What is found in the /etc?
/etc has all the configurations, all the parameters are specified within that. Everything, so how system works, how all the tools that we use on Linux systems, how they should behave, that is described in etc. It's kind of like when you buy a new car and you get the manual with it, it tells you how each function would be used, how it works. That's like the etc.
So basically, anything related to the system that changes the behavior of the system. For example, if you want to change the IP address, if you want to change the computer name, if you want to look at the MAC address, all of that information, all of those relevant files and directories are found under the etc directory. And just like that, the dev directory has all of the devices that are connected to your computer. Their information is found under the /dev directories. For example, the USB that you attach, the mouse, the hard drive, they're all devices and they are found under the /dev directory. And then /var has all the logs, /mnt and sys, we will talk about them later on. And the /lib is the shared libraries. So everything starts from the root directory. Why is there two /var? Are there two /var? Yes, there are two /var. So same thing over there. This is wrong actually. It says additional packages. I do want to warn you guys, those of you who are getting used to using ChatGPT for learning purposes. I use ChatGPT to create this slide too. It makes a lot of mistakes. You cannot trust whatever ChatGPT is telling you. Honestly speaking, it makes a lot of mistakes. Look at this. /var uses optional packages, add-on software. Absolutely wrong. That would be /opt or /usr. And what is this? /run. This is /run. Okay. Runnable data. Okay, that's fine. But you cannot trust everything on the ChatGPT. Now let's go ahead and Nasir, if you could share your terminal and if you could show us how we can go about to navigate the basic file system, the listing, understanding the permissioning. And so if you could show us the basic navigation, I would appreciate that. And also make the size a little bit bigger. However, I was able to zoom on my end. Okay. For now, go ahead, Nasser sir, and show us how to navigate the file system, the basics of navigation.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sadai. Okay, folks. So obviously we are repeating this information, and we're going to start from the very, very fundamental. I know you guys may find it boring, those who understand it, but we need to make sure that this gets embedded. Okay, this gets embedded in you guys. Now, one thing as Sabai already explained, the C drive, the concept of root file system in Linux, folks. You must understand that the very first slash, is the root file system, meaning the directory that contains everything on Linux, right? So if I said something like ls slash versus if I said ls slash root, these are two different things. I hope everybody's able to, the very first slash. So when I say ls slash, well, of course, do we know what is ls? Now in Linux, when you want to open a folder, kind of like in Windows as we do, for instance, if I want to open a download or if I want to open a pack folder, I click on it. So that clicking is like you're clicking and you're seeing that. You see in Windows, the two things are happening. You're selecting a folder and it's showing you its output. But in Windows, if you need to list a folder, you are going to use ls. ls for short for list. Can you list a file? Can you list a folder? You need to be able to understand the difference between listing a file and a folder. When you say list a folder, that means list a directory, list a folder. So if you do ls slash, it is going to show you what is there. But if there is a file that you want to read the content of, you cannot say ls to that, right? Because that's a file. Files cannot be listed. Files can only be read. You can only read the file. So for instance, this is a folder and it has a bunch of subfolders and then it has some files in it. When you want to open this folder, the command that we use is ls, right? ls, list it. Now, at the terminal, when I do ls slash, I know slash is the biggest folder, the mother folder. You know how they have a mothership in Star Trek that has everything within that? So this is what it is. So slash is what holds everything in it. So when you do ls slash, it shows you all the folders that are, that slash encompasses or whatever is inside of slash. Now, when you list it, now if I try to cat it, which is for files, when you want to read a file, you use the cat command, right? You cannot cat a folder. So understand that two major things. ls is to list a folder. Cat is a command that will read a file. As simple as that. Okay. Now, the very first slash is very, very important. The reason why, because if I said ls slash etc slash sysconfig slash network dash scripts, looking at this path, one could be like, if I ask somebody, hey, where is the network scripts directory? We need to keep in mind, the network scripts directory, the one you see right here, it's actually inside of this directory, sysconfig directory. And that sysconfig directory is actually inside of slash etc. And this etc actually is inside of this very first root. You guys need to understand that, folks. This very first slash holds the utmost importance. Other slashes, they are nothing but just, mere separators. I hope everybody understands that. The very first slash. So for instance, for example, right now, using pwd, I check my present working directory. Right now, am I inside of this folder right now, folks? How many people think I am inside of this folder? Well, technically, I am there. Yes, I am inside of that folder, but the actual folder that I am in is the one at the end, which is Linoop. So if I create a file here using the command called touch, and I call it file1, do I do ls slash file1? Is this the right thing? You guys remember, the very first slash means something else. I created the file 1 where I am right now. I am in Linux. This is where I created that. But when I do ls/file1, what do you think I'm trying to say? What am I instructing the system to do? I am telling the system, hey, there is under root file system, meaning the slash, there's a file called file1. List that for me. And when I hit enter, system says, hey, I tried looking inside of the slash for file or file1, if that was, no such file or directory. Why? Because I need to pay attention to where I am. This is very, very important. I am right here, which in a Linux folder, which is inside of home, which is in under root. So when I say this, that ls file1/file1, what I'm effectively saying is, hey, this file is actually under this slash right here, not here. So I need to make sure what I point the commands to. It's very important. That's why navigation is really, really important. So if I say, let me clear the screen. If I say ls/file1, obviously this is wrong. I did not create a file in slash. But if I do ls/home/linoopt, that is a long way. It's a long way home, but it certainly brings you home. Yes, there's file1 I see. Or because I am already here, do I need to specify this whole path? Do I need to go and talk about, oh, slash, and under slash there's a home folder, and under that there's a Linux folder? I should not have to do that. All I simply do is just do ls because I am already inside of Linux. It's kind of like we are in this class, right? And let's say if I was to talk to, let's just say, which user, Bushra. If I was to talk to Bushra, I can simply say, hey, Bushra, would you please do this? And she's able to receive that instruction and perform the task. Rather than I send a message to, let's just say, Adnan Chaudhry, he forwards it to Abdul Rafi, and then he forwards it to Hussein, and then eventually goes to Bushra. Yes, you guys will be able to relay my message to Bushra. But again, so it will get to the end destination, but if you're already there, why do I need to, rely on other things? I could simply say ls. So in simple terms, if I say, right now I am here, if I create a file called touch file2.txt, by the way, some concepts may sound very rudimentary, but I should go over them. .txt, if I create this file, what notion to the naked eye am I giving? What would you think, what type of file this would be? If I created a file called file1.txt or file2.txt, anybody looking at this file, what sense can they make? It's a text file. Very good. So if I do touch file3 let's call it py. Py is an extension for Python. So this would be a Python extension. If I did this repo, file3.repo, oh, this is a repo file. If I said zip, well, this is a zip file. So name extensions, they help the naked eye. It makes the life easier. That's why we use, these different types of extensions. And you will see the conf. What do you think of this conf, folks? You will see conf, or you will also see config. Yeah, you will see this very common on Linux. Okay. So these are the naming extensions. So you must know for instance, if you did sshd_config, we already know it's a configuration. That's what it is. Conf mean configurations. Obviously, config already tells you this is a configurations. So yeah, these are different name extensions. These are called extensions. Okay. And then of course, if I had that txt.file3, is this a name extension? This is a prefix now. We just need to understand the difference between, if you give it a specific type of prefix, something that pre means before, right? Something that gets assigned before. Anyway, so with that idea in mind, we are here in /home/linoopt. Everybody knows that you guys are in your user's home directory. Let me see how many people are logged into the system. So if I use the uptime command, I see we have 94 users. In total, we have 118 users. We are missing, quite a few users. Where's everybody else? We're missing about, almost 14 students. Where are they? Anyway, I think we do have some, management and then others. But thank you. Yes, indeed, .jpg, .gif, and all that. Yes, those are the, name extensions. Very good. So, folks, everybody needs to go to their home directory. So the very first command, even by default, as mentioned earlier, when you guys log on to a Linux system, there is a space allocated for user space, and within that, everybody has their own home directories. Okay, everybody has their private space called home directories. Now, whenever you log in from your laptop, you will log into it and you will authenticate. You will enter your username and password. You will be directed to your home directory in your private space where you can do anything you want. You can create files, you can delete files, you can manipulate whatever you want to do. You would be able to do that in that private space. You cannot do this in other people's places. Okay, so everybody make sure when you log onto the Linux system, the default place that you will end up in is your private space. And for me right now, I'm logged in as Linoopt user. By the way, this is called command prompt. I'm repeating this. This is called command prompt. And what does command prompt tell us? It tells us who are we logged in as. In my case, it's Linoopt. At meaning logged on at, obviously. It literally means like at which system. And then, of course, the name of the server. So it says, hey, you are logged in as Linoopt user at the server 101, essentially. And then there is you can always reset it. You can reset that too. And then there is this funny sign, tilde. Sometimes it's called tilde. Some people call it tilde. Some people call it tilde. I will go with tilde. Okay. And what happens is this is a symbol. It signifies something. It means that whenever you see this, you are inside of your home directory right here. That's what it signifies. That's what equals to tilde. Okay. So tilde basically means your home. Whenever you will see this in your command prompt, that means you are in your home directory. But if you change this, if you change your directory to somewhere else, cd to /tmp, if you did cd, meaning change directory, if you did cd /tmp, if you went to /tmp, look, it's it changed. It went from tilde to tmp because now you are in tmp. If you did pwd, you're there. But if you wanted to go back to your home directory, what is the ultimate command that is, that is a home bringer that brings you back to your home? That is cd. You just type cd and hit enter, and voila, you're back to your /home/linoopt. If you change your directory to /cd to /opt, you're changing your directory to opt, and now you can see you're in opt. But you want to go back to your home directory, you do cd and hit enter, voila, you're back in So this is your fortress. This is your castle. This is where you will work. This is where you will be able to do anything you want. Okay. Outside of that, it depends on the permissions you have. So if I try to go into /root, which is a different directory for root user, it says permission denied, because I don't have permissions to that. So being a regular user, you may not have permissions to everything on the system. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the beginning. So everybody, make sure you guys are in your home directory. Make sure if it's a username Bushra, it should say /home/Bushra. If it's a username Ritaj, it should say /home/Ritaj. If it's a username Abdul Rafe, then it says /home/Rafe or Abdul Rafe. And if it's Adil, it should say /home/Adil. So make sure your PWD reflects that. All right. Now, while we're here, let's go ahead.
Actually,
Yeah.
Coach Nasser, essentially, every user that logs on to a Linux server, they need an account, right?
They would need an account. That's
They
right.
need a user ID and a password.
They would do that. Yes.
So basically, a system administrator, whoever is managing that server, will give them that username and password.
That's right. Yeah.
So the home directory that you're telling us about, which is found under the /home, does that always relate to your username that you use to log in?
Yes. Very likely, 99% of the time, it would be the case that your home directory will be same as your username.
Okay, so can you show me how do I check what username I'm logged in as?
Yes, of course we can do that. Of course, and the command you already taught us is the easiest one, is how to identify ourselves, who we are. So ID command is usually the best. It gives you more than what you want to see, but it gives you lots of information. But even in human readable, even just in normal conversation, we often use, if you want to check yourself, hey, who am I? meaning who am I logged in as. It
Okay.
gives you the precise and concise information.
Okay, so if my user ID is Linux, my home directory would be /home/Linux for the most part.
Very likely. Yes, that's exactly what it
Okay.
is.
Okay, very good. So excellent. So now if I want to see potentially, if I want to see who else can log on to this server and who are the other users on this server, I can go to the /home and I can see all of their directories over there, right?
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay, so can we do that? If we
Yeah.
can change directly to /home.
So we can simply go to CD, of course,
Mm-hmm.
change directory, and
Mm-hmm.
under slash, of course, we already know there's a folder called home. This is where everybody is,
Yeah.
rightly reflected so, and we hit enter, and we can see that we are in /home. We're just a folder above our current folder,
So
and
you could have done cd space dot as well, right?
we could have done that too.
Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
okay, makes sense.
So if you do ls here, lots of folders.
Okay, so these are all the users who can potentially log into the system, and this is what their home directories are.
This is where the home directories are. Yes. Yes.
Can we sneak into their home directory? Can we try to go into the home directory and read their personal files?
Let's try to go into Ahmed Ali's home directory. So if I go to CD, because I am already in home/home, so Ali Ahmed's folder is here. So if I do CD
Mm-hmm.
Ali underscore, or actually I'll paste it here, Ahmed Ali,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to go there, permission denied.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is a private space for Ahmed Ali. Or if I try
Okay.
to go to Danny's home directory, permission denied.
Okay.
We can
Maybe
we
down the road we can see why the permission is getting denied.
That's right. Yes, we will
Okay.
come to learn that.
Very good. So what else I can do with the cd command?
Yeah, CD command is basically are your legs. It takes you from one place to another.
Okay.
Without this, we cannot navigate the system. One thing we already learned that when you use CD command, it is the ultimate, it is the command that brings you home no matter where you are. You type CD, you end up being back in your private space where you should be able to work or perform. Okay. You can also navigate the other, you can go up a directory. If you did CD dot dot, earlier I said CD and /home, which was basically, start absolute way of going to a directory. But if I did CD dot dot right now, I'm here. The dot dot basically means take me above a directory. Take me from here into this directory. Just take me back one directory. Okay. So if we did CD dot dot, we end up making /home. If you did CD dot dot here, where do you think we're going to end up, everybody? I am here now. Where do you
Okay.
think I would end up? I
Well,
would,
you're in /home. So if I go one step back, I think you would end up in slash
that's where I should
root,
be.
which is also called root.
Root file system.
Okay. So can you
That's right.
go one step above the root?
Well, let's do CD dot dot and see what it does.
You
Okay. Well,
you can do cd dot dot all day long, but this is the base of the file system. This is where the file system starts from, and this is the max you can go back.
this is the max we can go back.
Okay, so what is tell me a little bit about the ls command. What is the role of the ls command? I know what the pwd is, which means basically present working directory. I
Mhm.
know what the cd command is. You showed me to go from one directory to one step back, but what if I want to go to completely different directory? Let's say you are under root right now and you want to go to a directory called /etc/sysconfig. How would you
Right.
doing that?
Yes. So of course, we always in Linux, commands will always be the first thing. Okay. So we type the command. And if I forget to type anything in front of the CD command, we know that CD command is supposed to do something. And if I just hit enter here, I hope everybody knows where they're going to end up being. I hope everybody knows when you just simply type CD and hit enter, you guys know where you're going to end up being. Home. Exactly. That's right. In your,
It will always take you to your home
I
directory.
hope everybody's logged back in. Okay. All right. So let's go to the top of the file system. When I say file system, we basically mean the root, okay, or any directory, okay. So let's go to root. Everybody type change your directory, CD and then type slash. So it changes your directory to root. Now we will try to do the stuff from here, right? So if you type pwd, it will show you that you are on the top of the mountain. This is the top of the mountain, and then you will, create file system downwards. So let's create a file in our home directory. Okay. Remember the word our home directory. When I say username, let's just say it's user Ahmed, it would be /home/Ahmed. It would be /home/Aruba, /home/Aisha, whatever your username is. Whatever your username is, that's where the place we're going to create a directory. In my case, it's Linux, or you can do who am I. So what we're saying is /home/ whatever is the result, like right here. This is what my home directory is. In your case, it would be whatever, when you typed who am I, whatever was the result. So it would be /home/ that, what you saw on your screen. Okay. So with that being said, let's create a file inside of our home directory. So the command to create a file is what? mkdir. Very good. Is that the command to create a file? No, that's to make a directory. So the command is touch. Thank you. Very good. So I want to create a file, given that I am already in root, and here I have a folder called home. So I can actually do touch home, or if I want to be absolute, I will use the slash. I will even specify the root file system, the directory that I'm. I'll say touch. In slash, there's a folder called home, and inside of that, there's a folder called Linoop. That's my space. You need to specify yours in there under that. So this slash that I'm typing right here, it basically means inside of that. Okay. So remember, the very first slash is important. That is the root file system. Within that, there's a folder called home. And underneath that, there's a folder called Linoop. Okay. So I cannot leave any space in between, but just to show you, what I mean was that, Linoop folder is inside of home, and home is inside of this root. Okay. So let me remove the space, and this is what it looks like. So create a file inside of slash, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Linux. And inside of that, create a file called sshd_config. Okay. So what I'm saying is, while I am here inside of slash, on the very top of the mountain, while I'm here, create a folder or file inside of root containing a folder called home. Inside of that, there's Linux, and inside of that, create a file called ssh_config. And when I hit enter, did this file get created? Did we create this file? I don't know. I need to verify, right? So if I do ls/sshd_config, is this right place? Did I create sshd_config under slash? No. You guys need to keep in mind, sshd_config is created inside of Linux. And where is Linux? Linux is inside of home. And where is home? Home is inside of slash, folks. Okay. You got to keep that in mind. Okay. So if I did ls/sshd_config, what I'm saying is, hey, under root, there's a file called sshd_config that I created, which is completely wrong. And system is going to say, hey, no such file or directory, dummy. What are you telling me? Look where you created the file. So, well, we're not going to cd or anything. Don't cd. Just follow my lead for now, please. So the command is ls. So inside of root, there's a folder called home, and inside of that, there's a folder called Linux. That's all. What I'm saying is, I created sshd_config in Linux, right? So I need to take a look at this folder. But I know this folder is inside of home, and home is inside of slash. So I will say list me under root or slash, there's a folder called home, and inside of that Linux. As simple as that. So now when I hit enter, of course, I do see pre-existing file under whatever that is there, but then I do see sshd_config there. Let's do another file. Let's create another file as touch. Inside of root, there's a folder called home. And inside of that, there's a folder called Linux. And inside of that, I'm going to create a file called, let's call it host.conf. So now keep in mind, folks, the whole path, the absolute path where I created this. I cannot say ls/hosts.conf. No, I cannot say /home/hosts.conf. No, because this host.conf is not in home or /home. It's in Linux folder. So I have to include the whole path. Okay. So I'm just going to list the folder or the directory where I created that file, which is up till here because this is the name of the file that I created. So I will do ls. There you go. It gives permission. Yeah.
Yeah, you are able to ls/home/linoopt, but when I do ls/home/linoopt, it's giving me permission error.
Yeah, this is exactly what we had. Thank you, Signby, for bringing that up. But why are people trying to list my home directory? Why are you guys looking into my private space? Look into your own private space. I am not. भाई अपने अपने घर देखो. Look into your own home. Mind your
I
own
feel like
business.
you are the coach of Linoopt. That's why it's working.
I no, this is my workspace, Signby. You know, go eat from your own home. Don't come to my place. Don't be a party crasher. Okay.
No, 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 no. Hold on. The real reason is he is not a naturalized citizen. He's the born US citizen. If you're a naturalized citizen, then you will not be able to list other people's home directory contents. Okay.
That's right.
This is Make America Great Again
Oh God,
policy by Trump. So those of
man.
you who voted, your rights to view the listing have been removed. Okay. Hope you get the joke.
Oh my God. It's may God bless America, but things are very scary. But anyway, but yes, you're right. So if folks, you need to create your files inside of. So for instance, let's say we take Junior Taurus. So if your home directory is /home/junior, this is where you should be creating your files. If it's namelf, so it should be /home/nam elf, and inside of that you should be creating your files folders. And those who are saying it's denying permissions, it would be undelete. So if your home directory is /home undelete, this is where you should be creating the file sshd_config, not inside of Linux. This is my place, folks. Okay. Yeah, this is my place. This is where I can, again, as mentioned earlier, we stressed that every user, if you do ls/home, every user on the system, they have their own space, workspace. Zoya, and Saeed, you all have your private space. So please go to, how would you find that out? What is your private space? You do who am I? Okay, this is what the name of the folder should be. So if you do ls/home, just append this name at the end, copy and paste it, type it. That is your workspace. That is where you will be creating sshd_config. This is where you will be doing that. Not inside of mine. This is mine. Linoopt is mine. You guys need to find yours. Okay. So actually I should have used a very, just common name, so it would have been easier, but it's okay. So all right, good. I hope everybody understands what we're doing here. So if you do touch inside of root, there's there's a folder called home, and inside of that there's a folder with your name. So in case it's Shahid, you will type Shahid, and inside of that you will create a file called sshd_config. How many people are still confused on this? Everybody's good? How many people are still having trouble understanding what we're doing here? It is very straightforward, folks. Okay. I hope you guys, okay, can we simply type file name instead of the typing? My child, you are like me. I am lazy. I don't like to type the whole path, but don't follow my practices, okay? Be active. So yes, you have to type the whole path. You got to type that. All right? Yeah, you got to type that. So yeah, so let me actually switch to root user and create my own regular user, okay? Just so that we all are able to relate, okay? So I'm going to add a user, add Nasser. I'm going to give user Nasser password. Okay, so let me switch to user Nasser, su-Nasser. Here we go, su-Nasser. All right, don't worry about what I did. That was not meant for you. Now I am doing this as you guys, as a regular user called Nasser. So let me go back to root now, cd to / here I am in root. So let's everybody create file once again. So if I do touch, create a file, inside of root, there's a folder called home, which contains everybody's home directories. I cannot use other people's home directories. I need to use mine. So mine is /Nasser. Inside of that, I'm going to create a file called logs.conf. And you guys should do the same. Replace Nasser with your own, okay? Like if you're Aisha user, you will do Aisha. If you're junior, you will do junior. If you are Andy, you will do Andy, what have you, okay? And in my case, it's Nasser. So what I'm saying is create a file called logs.conf inside a folder called Nasser that is inside of home, and that ultimately is inside of / the root file system. We will hit enter. Well, apparently it ran successfully. Something happened, no error. Thanks God. Errors are usually, telling you that there's some issue, but apparently no issue here. So how do I, now when I want to list and check if this file is created, do I list /home? Do I list Nasser? Do I list log? What do I list? What is the path? Where have I created this file? Till here. I will look into this folder. So I will do ls list me under / there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's my workspace, in your case, your workspace called Nasser. And there it is, logs.conf. Let's create another file. Touch. Inside of root, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's my workspace. In your case, it would be your workspace. You type your name there and create a file called httpd.conf. Don't worry about the names of the files, but just go ahead. You will come to remember this in time, okay, in due time. So don't worry about this. Now, well, no error, so success. Now, how do I validate? Where did I create this file? Inside of my workspace. So I will list under root, there's a folder called, or directory called home. And inside of that, there's the directory called Nasser. Very good. I do have that. I have httpd.conf. Now let's go ahead and create a directory now, folks. So what's the command to create a directory? Touch. Okay. Oh, sorry. mkdir. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, guys. mk for make, dir for directory in China. Sorry, make directory, mkdir. Make directory. Inside of root, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. In your case, you would specify your username. Inside of that, I'm going to create a directory called, let me call it let me call it logs. No, not logs. Let me call it kdump.conf, or just kdump. Don't worry about the .conf, just kdump. Don't worry about it. Kdump for kernel dumps or core dumps, and hit enter. Now, can I do ls/kdump? Can I do that? No. This is wrong instruction. System is like, hey, there's something wrong. You're telling me to look for kdump. I idn't find any kdump inside of /. Where did I create that? Inside of my home directory, folks. So I need to give it the absolute path. So ls/. Can I do /home and expect kdump to be there? No, because kdump is not inside of /home. It is actually inside of Nasser. So I need to be precise. Nasser. Okay. There is kdump, folks. Of course, the color coding is helpful, but we will come to see what is the true way of finding out whether it's a file or directory. Okay, so let's go ahead and create another directory. mkdir, make a directory. Inside of /, there's a folder called, or directory called home. And inside of that, there's my workspace. In your case, your workspace. Type that here. And within that, we are going to create a folder called opt. Okay, but we can do the tree home and ckdump in it, right? Yes, you can, but my dear, don't use that. Use ls for now. Tree command is something that you can use, but it's you need to learn to survive on the bare tools, the tool bare minimum. In case if tree command is not there, then at least you don't wait for somebody, oh, I can't do this because I need tree command. No. Make yourself getting used to using ls. ls is minimum of the command that you will find available on the Linux system. Okay, so but tree command is a very powerful command, very handy command. We will come. You can use that too as well. You can do tree /home/Nasser, and you will see the files and folders that exist there too. You can do that too. Okay, what does // do? Don't use / for now. Right now, it doesn't do anything, but don't worry about it. Don't use /. There is no // in Linux. Okay, don't do that for now. Okay, just use /. All right, very good. So we are still, oh, by the way, folks, when we were creating those files and directories, did we leave our place? Did we go into like /home/nasir and create OPT? Did I go into /home/nasir to create KDM? No, I was where I was. So I was instructing system to go ahead and do it for me. I gave it absolute path. This is the power of absolute path. Now let's do this. Let's create a directory structure inside of our home directory. So mkdir, inside of /, inside of root, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasir. Inside of that, I'm going to create directory 1. And inside of that, I'm going to create directory 2. And inside of that, I'm going to create directory 3. Okay, now this is a long path. But I want I'm instructing the system to go ahead and create that. When I hit enter, it should create me. Oh, wow. Yes, so cannot create directory. No such file or directory. Well, what do you mean no such file or directory? I know there is /home/nasir, that's there. Do I have directory 1, folks, already inside of my home directory? I don't. Do I have directory 2? No. Do I have directory 3? So, folks, what it's complaining is, hey, please understand that in order for directory 3 to be created, you need to have directory 2. And if you don't have directory 2, you need, in order for directory 2 to be created, you need to have directory 1. So when you want to create a directory structure, when I say directory structure, I mean, the path, like all the directories within a long path, then this must exist in order for this to exist. And this must exist in order for this to exist. So we need to use a flag with that, because this is a child to this parent directory. And this is a child to this parent directory. And this is a child to this parent directory. And this is a child to this parent directory. And ultimately, this is the mother of all the directories. So there's a child and parent relationship. So we need to use the option or the flag. If mkdir -p for flag, the parent flag, /home /nasir /dir1. So inside of /, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasir. You guys need to know your folder or your username. Inside of that, I'm attempting to create directory 1. In there, inside of directory 1, I'm creating directory 2. Inside of that, I'm creating directory 3. By the way, folks, am I creating 3 individual So, of course, we are still in root, and we are telling the system to create a directory. Inside of root, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasir. Within that, let's create a folder called world. Within that, there's a folder called, let's create a folder called USA. Within that, let's create a folder called New York. By the way, New York City is the best city in the world, folks. Those who are not in New York City, you guys haven't seen US, okay? So try to come to New York if life gives you opportunity, okay? It has the best food. It has the best sightseeing. It has the best rats. It has the best people. You wake up in the morning and you're next to them in a train and they're upset, and you talk to somebody, they'll punch you in the stomach and probably throw you on the tracks too. So it has all the good stuff that you're looking for. Come to New York, okay? Best pizza. Yeah, I mean, it's the best pizza in the world, folks. I would try Grimaldi's, the one on Fulton Street. That's right underneath Brooklyn Bridge in Dumbo. Good stuff. All right. Very good. Okay. All right, folks. So New York, and inside of New York, there's a beautiful city called BKLYN, Brooklyn. Now, do I have, of course, I know root is there, and inside of root, there's a folder called home that is there. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasir that exists there. But do I have the world folder inside of my home directory? No, I don't. What about USA? No, obviously, if the world. So, folks, just by looking at it, imagine if this folder existed, world, and it had USA in it, and it had New York in it, and New York had Brooklyn in it. If I deleted this world folder, do you think these, this hierarchy, these nested folders would exist? Obviously not. Obviously not. If you destroy the base, then obviously, anything erected on top of the base will be destroyed as well. So if you deleted the parent directory, the child would go with that. So I'm glad at least we understand them logically. If I deleted Nasir, do you think this whole path would exist? No, that too will be gone. How about if home? If somebody had the power to delete home folder, what do you think is going to happen to this? That too will be gone. And now, by the way, this home folder, if this gets deleted, y'all all will lose your workspace. So we got to be mindful of that. Very good. So now when I hit enter here, it says no such file or directory, but I know that there's a folder called root. Inside of that, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. I know they exist. I know world doesn't exist, US and they don't exist, but these two exist. So at least you should create this. Well, if you want, the system is saying is, hey, if you really want to do that, well, then you need to define the parent-child relationship. So I'm like, okay, how do I do that? By simply adding the -p flag. By the way, this tiny little dash right here, very commonly people in IT, they would call it hyphen. People who call it dash. Dash is more like a desi way. Put a dash there. But people who are in IT, they would call it hyphen. Okay. So learn to adapt. By the way, folks, I often try to uh, emulate people and try to assume their approaches in their fields. It helps me. So you guys should start saying things that you find you're hesitant to talk about at the moment, but try to emulate that. It'll help you in privacy, obviously, not so you don't look like a fool in public. Okay. Yeah, people call it -2. That's right. That's thank you, signed by minus. Yeah, they also call it my mkdir -p, and that would be completely something out of the ordinary. But -p -p is very commonly used. Okay, so now what I'm saying is, hey, at the end of the day, create Brooklyn folder, but this is a child to this parent, but make sure this parent exists. If this parent exists, make sure this parent exists. And if this exists, then make sure this parent exists. So I am saying, hey, if they don't exist, go ahead and create them in one shot. I don't care. All right, very good. Now I know that, this whole directory structure has been created. So if I do, what would I list to see the world folder? If I wanted to see if the world folder is created, will I list New York or will I list Brooklyn? Will I list USA? What should I list if I want to see the world folder is created? I need to list my home directory because it's right underneath that. So ls/home/Nasser. There is the world folder. So we know that inside of world folder is USA. So if I did ls under slash, there's a folder called home. Inside of home, there's a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, there's a folder called world. And inside of that, there's a folder called USA. By the way, this is capital. Make sure if you used capital, make sure your cases are as you typed it, as you created it. Okay. So I do see inside of USA folder, a directory called New York. So if I list New York, that means I should be able to see Brooklyn. Well, let's see. ls/home/ or inside of slash, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, I know there's a folder called world. Inside of that, there's a folder called USA. Inside of that, there's a folder called New_York. By the way, tonight when you will go to sleep, you guys will be hearing this. Oh, inside of this, there's a folder called this. Inside of that, there's a folder called this. This is going to haunt you tonight when you go to sleep. Maybe you will see in your dreams. And if that's the case, that means you were paying attention. If you don't hear these voices in your dream, or you don't see me, my voice in your dream, that means you guys weren't paying attention. Okay. This is how we were taught. Okay. All right, folks. So very good. So again, yeah.
Question.
Sure.
You are using uppercase because of its country name or city name, or Linux is sensitive for the uppercase or lowercase?
Yeah, Linux is very sensitive. Linux is very sensitive when it comes to cases. I'm using this purposely because obviously, when you write country names, you don't write them in lowercase, you write them in uppercase. And then of course the cities too, just so that you can keep it in lowercase. It's your choice. But I am just doing it so that it is prominent and it is it's easy on the eyes. Okay. But yes, you can go ahead and do that. Now, so do we see what is anybody still lost or confused what is actually going on here? How we are doing this? Anybody has any question? Any question? Atif, you have a question? What is your question, Atif? We're going to talk about deleting that too. It's relatively easy. Don't worry about that. We're going to talk about that too. Okay, you know what? Let me take some questions in the break time. We'll have another 6 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and talk about this in the break. Those who need help, I will address those. All right. So just hold on to your questions and we will come to address those. And now, folks, we've learned how to create files and folders. Okay. Now, I know inside of my under slash, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. In your case, it would be your name. And we have a bunch of files and folders there, folks. So if I did tree, the command tree slash home slash Nasser, you will see that there's, as we created the directory structure, it's there. Now, how do we delete files and folders, folks? Before we actually do this, before we even delete anything, what if I wanted to rename a file called http.conf to, let's say, sshd.conf? Okay. The command that we will use is called mv, which stands for move. Yeah, it's funny how you will use move. I mean, the name itself, move, is to move somewhere from one place to another, but then you also use move to move a name, to move from one name to another name. You use that too. Okay. So let's say, let me do the tree command one more time. By the way, folks, if you use the up arrow in your keyboard, it brings up your previously executed commands, and then if you use the down arrow, it brings the most recently executed your commands that you have typed on the terminal. Okay. And of course, there's another command called history. If you typed and you hit enter, it will, of course, show you all the commands that you have typed in your history, what you did. All right. So just wanted to give you that little bit of extra stuff there. Now, if I do tree command and I see that there is a file called httpd.conf, if I wanted to change its name to, let's say, httpd.net, the command is move. And where is this file found? Inside of slash home slash inside of slash. So the syntax, or meaning the way you specify the command, move command, is it requires a source, meaning what to move. And then it requires a destination, which basically means where. So what are you moving and to where are you moving it to? So that is the syntax of the move command, source and destination, meaning what do you want to move? What source do you want to move? A file or a folder? You select that. And destination, to which destination, which folder or which location you want to move it to. Okay. This is the syntax of your move command. Okay. So with that idea in mind, if I want to move the httpd.conf, I want to rename it to, let's say, http.net. So I will say mv. Under root, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. Inside of that resides a file called httpd.conf. By the way, folks, if I simply type initial few characters of the name of file or directory, and I hit tab, it would autocomplete. And right now, it seems little tedious to hit the tab, but you do see there are, files and folders. So let's go ahead and change this OPT to MNT. Let's rename that to MNT. Okay. So the command is MNT. Now we need to keep in mind where OPT is. OPT is, of course, inside of Nasser, and Nasser is, of course, inside of home. So we need to make sure we maintain, the path. Okay. So what is there are more than two? What if there are more than two arguments? Yeah, there are more than two arguments in certain cases, and we will come to see that actually soon, very soon. It's coming up. Okay, when you need to do more than two arguments. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do mv. The source is under root. There's a folder there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called my folder called Nasser, my home directory. Inside of that, there's a folder called or file or directory called opt. I want to rename it to, in the same location, inside of slash, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, Nasser. And inside of Nasser, I'm going to rename it to, I'm going to call it to, MNT. So I am changing the name from OPT to MNT. Okay, that's what I'm doing. So the command, the source, and the destination or the target. That's in simple terms. Okay, that's as simple as that. Now, when I hit enter, of course, Linux doesn't show me the command line. Obviously, I will have to use tools. So I will do ls. Inside of slash, there's a folder called home. home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. You look for your folder. And when I ls it, it's simple that folder. Now we can see that opt has been renamed to mnt. Okay. So mnt command, it's something that you would use. Now also, if I need to move this somewhere, right now I just use it to rename something. But if I say, let's say if I want to move this mnt into a folder that dir1, or if I want to move this mnt into kdump right here, if I want to move this into kdump, I mean to move it, literally move it, not rename it, but move it into. So same command, move. Inside of root, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, my folder called Nasser. In your case, it will be yours. And the source is mnt. This is what I want to move. And destination, where do I want to move it to? I want to move it to kdump. And of course, kdump is also in the same location right here. So I will say inside of root, there's a folder called home containing my folder called Nasser. Inside of that, there's a folder called kdump. So I am moving this folder into kdump, as you can see. By the way, I'm specifying trailing slash at the end so that system knows that this folder is actually moving into it, not being renamed, okay? So it doesn't have to be, but as long as this, by the way, folks, if this kdump folder, it did not exist here, what do you think would happen to this mnt? Very interesting question. If this kdump folder that I specified, hey, I said move this folder or this source into this destination, this directory. What if this kdump folder did not exist here, and I still said move /home/nasser/mnt into /home/nasser? What do you think? Thank you, Mamuna. Thank you, Namof. Yes, Humayun, great job, guys. Thank you. Yes, it's going to rename it. If there is the tiniest of discrepancy that you specify in the target, it is going to rename it. Just like with our earlier command right here. Look, just if this kdump did not, if I said kdump or just simply said dump, it is going to rename mnt to dump. Okay, so you got to be very careful. So I must specify the destination path as it is. It must exist. Okay, otherwise this mnt is going to get renamed into kdump, and you're going to be looking for mnt, and next thing you know, the name has been altered, and you're like, oh god, and now you'll be searching for it. So gotta be very careful. Linux is, you have to be very meticulous when it comes to Linux. Otherwise, you're going to be scratching your head, and then you're going to be, wondering what happened to it. So here you go. How about, let me actually show you. If I did just added another m or added another m to it. Do I have a folder called kudmmp here? I don't, right? I don't have that. But if I hit enter, and then if I do ls inside a / folder called home containing my folder called Nasser, look, it renamed it to kdump. From mnt to kdmmp. Just by one single character, it renamed it to something else. I probably be thinking, oh, what happened to mnt? It's not there anymore. I'm looking for mnt, but because of my lack of attention, it did the damage. So I need to be very, very careful. Okay. So let me change it back to mnt. So I will say inside of / there's a folder called home. Inside of there is a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, there's a folder called kudmmp. Rename that to, in the very location inside of / there's a folder called home containing Nasser. Inside of that, call it mnt. Rename it back to mnt. So I am changing this name that I accidentally created just by adding some additional m. I'm resetting it back to mnt. Okay. And now if I do ls under / there's a folder called home containing folder called Nasser. And now we are back with mnt. So now I want to move this folder into kdump. I really want to move it. I don't want to rename it. I want to move it. So the command is mv under / there's a folder called home, and my name is Nasser. In your case, it will be yours, like Samina. Inside of that, it would be folder called mnt. I want to move that to under / there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser, and inside of that Nasser folder, there's a folder called kdump. All right. And now when I hit enter, now because I have the right spellings, kdump, that folder exists there. So if I do ls /home/Nasser, now I long list my home directory. I don't see MNT anymore. Oh, what did I do? Oh, look, I just made another mistake, folks. I just created coup dump. Do you see what's happening here, folks? Do you see the repercussions you can end up facing? You gotta be very careful. You have to be very careful what you do, So I just made a mistake. I just added a KU between K and so it renamed it to from MNT to look, it went from MNT to Kudum. Kudum. Kind of sounds like South Indian name. Kudum kudu kudum kudum. Kudu chal rahe ho? Kya kar rahe ho? So that's kind of like, uh, uh, it sounds that way. But anyway, Kudum is there. Kudum. By the way, the T's and D's are so sharp when we, it just like pierces your ear. It's really, it wakes you up. If you were sleeping, you wake up. It's really nice. I like that. And there's no way you could miss a word, when they pronounce it. Mashallah. All right, folks. Here you go. So, of course, I just made a mistake. I need to reset it. So how do I bring my old commands back, folks? How do I do that so that I wouldn't have to type the commands again? Which arrow do I use? Up arrow? Yeah, let me use the up arrow. So, okay. Instead of that, I'm just going to use that. Just replace, because remember, my history is stored. So Kudump to MNT again. So I'm renaming it. And then I will hit enter. And now if I do ls under slash, there's a folder called home containing folder called Nasser. You will see that MNT is back. Now let's actually move this into K dump, not into Kudump. Okay, let's not rename it. How do you move back your cursor? You use the up arrow, my dear, up arrow. You want to use this takes you to the oldest commands. You want to come to the newest or the earliest commands, use the down arrow. Okay, very good. All right, cool. Okay, so with that said, I mean, you just change. Oh, that. Okay, so I simply use the cursor left arrow. Use left arrow and right arrow, and I backspaced it and typed it. Okay, that's what I did. All right, so now let's rename it. So MV under slash, there's a folder called home that contains my folder called Nasser. And inside of there's a folder called kdump. Oh, not kdump, MNT, the source that we want to rename. And at that very location under slash, there's a folder called home containing my folder called Nasser. There's a folder called kdump. That's where I want to move to. So now what I'm saying is, hey, move MNT into kdump. So if I hit enter, well, something could happen. Now if I do ls, if I long list under root a folder called home containing my folder called Nasser, I don't see MNT anymore. Why? Because MNT has been moved into kdump. So if I list kdump, ls/kdump. Is that right, folks? Am I typing the right command? Why? Is kdump not under root? Oh, sorry. So, okay. So you mean I have to type the whole path? Yes, I have to type the whole path. Under slash home, under slash, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser that contains a folder called kdump. There is your MNT. All right. That's how you go about renaming files, moving files. So if you want to, let me clear the screen, folks. Too much stuff on my screen. If I do ls/home/Nasser, if I list that, there's a file called httpd.net. If I want to move that into kdump, so the command would be mv under root, there's a folder called home containing my folder called Nasser. In your case, it would be yours. And the file name is httpd.conf. That's the file I want. By the way, I used tab. It auto-completed it. And you guys were like, wow, how fast it typed. No, it's a shortcut, okay? Linux is all about shortcuts, folks. And then where do I want to move this into? That very location. Inside of slash, there's a folder called home containing folder called Nasser. And inside of that, there's a folder called kdump. Kudump. I want to move into Kudump. In Punjabi, there's a word called Kudump. That means in-laws, but yeah, this is kdump. All right, so I will hit enter. It looks like this file has been moved. All right, let's confirm whether that's the case. So I will long list under root. There's a folder called home. Inside of that, I will create a folder called Nasser. I don't see httpd.net. So how do I confirm where I moved it to? Into kdump. So I will list that. So ls/under/, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser, containing folder called kdump. There is my http.net. Now, so that's how you move stuff. But now, what if I want to delete stuff? Let's say if I delete kdump, if I delete this directory.
Nasir
What
bhai,
if-
a question.
Sure, go ahead.
While you rename or move a file or a directory, does it affect the data inside?
No, it would not affect the data. It should not affect the data, but it should rename it. Yes, folks. So whatever was inside of this file, httpd.net, the data will stay intact. Just the name will change, right? It's kind of like same person, but you gave a different clothes to wear. If you're wearing shalwar kameez and then you just put on, trousers and t-shirts, it's the same person. It's just the outerwear has changed. Same thing with the file. The name has changed, but the content will remain same. It's not going to impact that. Okay. And we will come to see in future how sometimes it can impact when we will see that later. But for now, just understand, yes, it does not impact the content of a file or folder. So let's go ahead and remove this MNT folder, folks. We'll actually remove the file, httpd.net, which resides inside of kdump. And kdump resides inside of Nasser, and Nasser resides inside of home, and home resides inside of slash. So the command is rm. Inside of slash, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, there's a folder called kdump. And that contains a folder called httpd. By the way, if I use tab, auto completes it for me. So now if I hit enter, ooh, looks like something happened. It removed. But how do I validate? Which directory do I list to see whether this file exists in it or not? I list kdump, and we know kdump is inside of Nasser, Nasser is inside of home, home is inside of slash. So if I do ls under slash, folder called home, containing folder called Nasser, contains a folder called kdump. There's MNT, httpd.net is gone. Now let's go ahead and get rid of MNT as well. So the command is rm remove under slash root. There's a folder called home containing folder called Nasser that contains a folder called kdump, and that contains a folder called MNT. And when I hit enter, oh, it's a directory. You cannot remove that. You cannot remove that. Why? It's a directory. So is there a different mechanism to remove a directory? Not really. Same command. It's just that you need to tell the rm command to remove something recursively. This R that you see here, it means recursively. Oh, what does recursive mean? Recursive basically means to delete, because remember, a file only has data. It doesn't have subfolders or subfiles or anything like that. But a directory or a folder can have subfolders, can have subdirectories or subfiles. So when we say recursively, that means delete it from whatever it has as well as the file it name. In Punjabi we call it hunjai pher deo. Samjhai? That means delete it from the core. Get rid of whatever it has, just get rid of that. Okay. So we are trying to say, okay, just delete it and whatever it contains. So we will hit enter. By the way, you guys noticed there was space, but there was nothing in the space. That is okay. But it is just best practice to only leave a single space. Okay. Can we use rmdir also? Yes, you can use that, but rmdir is for empty directories. Okay. Not for directories that have content in it. But usually you will see rm-r. And it should delete that. So now let's validate. If I do ls under slash, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser, and Nasser contains a folder called kdump. Do we have anything in there? No. Now this is where we are going to use. We can use rmdir, by the way, rmdir, because kdump is empty. When I listed it, it didn't show anything here. So I can use rmdir here. But the conventional way, and the people who use Linux on a daily basis, for them to be able to delete something, they use the command rm. Okay, rm, and because kdump is a folder, I want to delete it, so I will use the -r flag. In slash, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, there's a folder called kdump. So I am deleting kdump now. I will hit enter. Well, let's see if kdump is gone. So I will list where the kdump was. It was inside of Nasser. So that's what I'm going to list. So slash under slash, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. Do we have kdump anymore? It's gone. Okay. All right. Now let's go ahead and get rid of directory 1. Before I do that, let me do tree on slash under containing folder called home, containing my folder called Nasir. Let me do tree on that. Oh, okay. So looks like directory 1 has directory 2 in it, and directory 2 has directory 3 in it. And of course, the world has USA in it, and USA has New York, and New York has Brooklyn. So if I wanted to delete Brooklyn, folks, of course, I know Brooklyn is a directory, and the command for that is rm-r or -r for recursive deletion. So I will say under root, there's a folder called home containing my folder called Nasir. That contains a folder called world right here, and world has USA in it, of course, capital, and USA has New York in it, and of course, New York has Brooklyn in it. So now I am deleting Brooklyn. Okay, no space. So what I'm saying is, hey, delete this and thing right here, which is inside of New York. New York is inside of USA. USA is inside of world. World is inside of Nasir. Nasir is inside of home. Home is inside of slash. So it's a long argument. But hey, I don't intend to leave my space. Now I have deleted this folder, but Brooklyn was inside of New York, right? So I need to take a look in there whether Brooklyn still exists in it. So I will do ls/home/Nasir/world/USA and /New York. And I'm using tab, folks. That's why I'm getting this done quickly. If I type W tab, U tab, and tab, it's automatically completing that for me. And there's nothing in there. But now if I want to delete New York, so again, rm-r, because New York is a folder. So that's why I need to use -r. It's a directory. Folks, you will notice I am saying folder or directory. They're same thing, okay? So under /home, there's a folder called Nasir or directory called Nasir containing directory called world. I will hit tab, completes for me. And inside of world, there's a folder called USA. I will hit tab to autocomplete.
That's why before deleting it, why not you copy that into directory?
Yes, we can do
We
that too.
just want to learn how we can copy a directory.
That's very true. I was cognizant of time, but yes, let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead. So how about if I take New York folder and move it into directory 3? So you gotta keep the whole directory structure in mind, okay? Okay, you gotta keep the whole thing in mind, all right? So with that, if I wanted to move that, of course, the command is move. And I know inside of / there's a folder called home containing my folder called Nasir. That contains my folder, that the target that I want to move, which is New York, which resides in USA, and that resides in world. Oh, you want to copy it? Yeah, you can go ahead and copy it. Sure, let's do CP. Now we are copying that, okay? Now because folders, of course, they have content, right? So we also need to copy them recursively, right? CP-R for recursive copying. And what we're copying is under home, there's a folder called Nasir. Nasir contains a folder called world. That contains a folder called USA. That contains New York. So that's what we're copying. And where are we copying to? In that very folder under root, there's a folder called home that contains Nasir. That contains a folder called directory 1, right? Because /home/Nasir has directory 1, and directory 1 has directory 2, and directory 2 has directory 3. So dir1 has dir2, and that has directory 3. Wow, that's a long path, folks. I'm going to zoom out a little so you guys can see. Now, anybody that doesn't know, I mean, you guys will be like, what the heck is this? This is so much typing one has to do. Okay, so, well, but this, again, we are lazy. We are not leaving all the stuff that we have been doing, folks. Look at that. Have we left our space? You can see I'm still under root. I'm in a one location because I'm smart enough to know where each file and folders are. I know what my game plan is. I'm giving the precise instructions, and I'm instructing the system, hey, do this, and it's performing those tasks for me. So what I'm saying is copy recursively. What do I want to copy? The source, New York folder, and where do I want to copy to, or where do I want to store that? Inside of directory 3. So do we see, again, copy command also follows the syntax of move command, source and destination. Okay, so now when I hit enter, okay, looks like something got copied. And if I do tree command again, let me clear the screen so that I can run the tree command so we can see things clearly. There's a lot of noise on the screen. So if I do tree, Inside of slash, there's a folder called home that contains my folder called Nasser. In your case, it will be yours. If I run tree here, so we can see that New York exists in directory 3 as well as, of course, under USA, because we copied it. Okay. So we copied it and we said, copy recursively New York folder that exists under USA, and USA is nested inside of world. World is nested inside of Nasser. Nasser is inside of home, and home inside of root. We do want to copy it to the same location, but instead of where it was, I'm copying it to directory now. So we have 2 copies. So now let's get rid of. Let's go ahead and get rid of dirt2. What do you think? If I deleted this, do you think dirt3 and dirt4 would be there? If I got rid of this dirt2, do you think these child folders or subfolders they will exist? Of course, they will cease to exist, because if the parent is gone, I mean, what good? How will child live? So of course, so I will do. If we do so, because we know these are folders. So what's the command to remove a folder? rm-r. By the way, very frequently you will use option called F as well. F for force. So R for recursive and F for force. Recursively and forcefully. Meaning, do not ask me for any. Do not prompt me to delete something, yes or no. Just delete it. Cut its head off. Do whatever. Don't ask me. So R for recursive, F for force. You will often see this being used, but it's very dangerous at certain times. It's dangerous when you don't know what you're doing, but it's a very common practice to use rm-rf when deleting something or getting rid of something. But I'll stick to R for now. So inside of root, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, there's a folder called dir1, and that contains a folder called dir2. So as you can see, under /home, under this path, there's a folder called dir1 that contains dir2. So now I am deleting this. Obviously, then these 2 will be gone, because if the parent is gone, then child have no reason to exist. So if I hit R, enter, and now if I do ls, or actually I can use tree command just for your ease. Under slash, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. And you can see now you're only left with dir1, dir2, dir3, New York, they are gone. Same thing. Let's go ahead and delete the folder called USA. Let's delete that folder. So if I do rm-r recursively, inside of root, there's a folder called home that contains my folder, in your case, your folder. You type that. And inside of that is a folder called world. And the world folder has a folder called USA. I'm deleting this. And then when I do tree command on /home/Nasser, let me clear the screen, folks. I'm going to clear the screen just so that it's easier on the eye. Now you see we are left with access.conf, dir1, world. There's nothing that resides under these folders anymore. We have deleted all the content there. So if I do ls/home/Nasser, that's what we're left with. Now I'm going to give you another really cool thing, but it is equally dangerous. So the cool thing is there's something called star. This is called asterisk. Okay, that's what star, or some people call it star. That's okay. You can call it star too, like a starfish. Now in Linux, it basically means it equals to all or whatever. Okay, that's what it means. When you put a star somewhere, that means all or whatever, or what, just everything, or everything, whatever, or everything. Okay, that's what equals to. It's basically a wild card. That's what it is. It's called wild card. It's a special character. It's something that is used very frequently on Linux. Asterisk. Some people call this asterisk. S gets silenced, but it's asterisk. So if I said rm-r, why this symbol is used in Linux? What is the purpose? The purpose of this star is to, if I wanted to say everything, I don't have to name everything, I simply would say star. That means, okay, do whatever you want to do, copy everything, delete everything, move everything. So the star holds a very specific or very special meaning, okay? That's what it is. As I said, it basically means everything, all, or anything. That's what it means. Or whatever is there. Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, exactly. So now if I wanted to clean up my home directory, I want to delete everything underneath my home directory, the command is rm-r. So under slash, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, how do I say delete everything? What is that special character that will help me? This is where your good friend star comes in. So I know slash home slash Nasser already has access.conf, dir, world folder. I don't want to delete them one by one. I'm just too lazy. I'm just like, okay, man, I don't want to have to type things again and again. I just simply say star. Star means everything. Egg, we can do rm-rf. Yeah, if you gotta, folks, you have to be very careful with this. If I did this as a root user and said under slash, there's a folder called etc, or if I just said simply slash star, what do you think me being smart ass doing this? I am saying remove recursively and forcefully everything that is under slash. Is that a good idea? That's a remedy to disaster. That's a remedy to get fired. Okay. Yeah, that's a remedy. After you perform this, what should one do is open up the window and then jump outside. Okay. Yeah, this is a disaster to getting fired. So be very cautious when you use this star. Yes, everybody wants to be a star. Everybody wants to be shining star, but it comes at a cost. Okay. So be very careful. That's why you have to know navigation so that when you type it, you know what you're doing. Okay. That's exactly what it is. So under slash, there's a folder called home. Inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, there's a folder. I mean, there are a bunch of folders. I will use star. I don't want to have to type everything. So it is going to target access.conf, dir1, world1, or anything else that I had there. So I will hit enter. And now when I do ls/home/Nasser, it's clean. Clean slate. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So be very cautious. Okay. Now this star is very powerful too. And I mean, not necessarily in removing or deleting or moving stuff. No. So if I said ls under etc, all the file, anything that starts with a, what do you think am I saying here? When I say list me under etc, everything and anything that starts with the letter A, because I specified A. If I hit enter, oh, there's a lot of stuff there with A. Let me actually add a flag called -D. If I do that, okay, A, and if I hit enter, look, under etc, there's a folder called A, accountant service. Under etc, there's a folder called ALSA. There's AppStream, there's audit. They all are under etc. That's so if I say ls-d for directory, under etc, list me all the folders that start with B, because remember, the name starts from the left side. This is not Urdu where everything starts from right. No, this is English. So everything starts from left. So if I say AB, all the files and folders whose names start with the characters A and B. And I don't care whatever they have after that. That's what it is. That's what it means. Hit enter. There's no such match. Okay. So if I said all the files and folders that start with the C, you can see, list me all the files and folders. Under slash, there's a folder called etc. And inside of that, I want to list anything that starts with C. But if I did this, folks, instead of star being at the end, if I said star in the beginning and said F at the end, what am I saying now? Am I saying in the beginning, anything that starts with the F in the beginning or F at the end? Now we're talking about the end, because now the star is first. I don't care whatever and all that is in the beginning, but it should have only F at the end. I hit enter. Oh, wow. There's a lot of stuff that has F at the end. Here, F. Everything that you see possibly, everything that you see here has F at the end. Because the star basically means anything or whatever, right here, whatever. So you have host.con and then F at the end. You have kdump.con and then F at the end. You have locale.con and then F at the end. You have man_db.con and then F at. So anything that, whatever that is, everything or whatever or anything that it has, it needs to. So with that idea in mind, if I do ls-d under etc, a folder that has anything but A at the end. Oh, look, there it found some folders that have A, that they are ending with the A. How about if I say it has B at the end? Oh, there are some B folders. There are some files and folders that are ending up with B, as you can see right here. Everything. So if I put the star in front of B, now it's going to look for the B in the beginning, not at the end. Whatever is at the end, I don't care. It can have mumbo jumbo, ming fu jing jing, whatever it has at the end. But it needs to start with the B. That's what my concern is. Okay. I hit, and here we are. Bash RC. Binders port. There's bin FM format. I mean, you can see that this is in the beginning. All right. So I hope this star is going to save you a lot of work. Down the road, we are going to use this asterisk very frequently. And we are going to, oh, by the way, let's do a fun exercise here. Let's copy, may it be a file, may it be a folder. Let's copy it recursively. Under root, there's a folder called etc. And inside of that, I want to copy all the files or folders that start with the letter A. Okay. I am copying recursively. Under root, there's a folder called etc. And inside of that is, I want to copy anything that starts with the A. Anything that starts with A. And where do I want to copy it to? Inside of my home directory, /home/Nasser, inside of that. Okay. The reason why we have to specify the -d, because some of these findings using the star, using this wildcard, some of them are directories, because some of them are files. If they are directories, what's going to end up happening is, if you don't specify the D, it's going to start listing you what is inside of each of these directories. So I wanted to avoid listing the nested content of those folders. Okay, that's why I use the -d flag. All right. So now what I'm saying is copy recursively. Under root, there's a folder called etc. And that contains all the folders that start with letter A, and copy them into this location. Okay. If I hit enter, of course, permission denied on what? On /etc audit. Okay, well, of course, I understand that maybe I don't have rights there, but did it copy anything? If I do ls under root, there's a folder called home that contains my folder called Nasser. Yes, it did copy some stuff. It did copy some directories with the A, all of them, of course, the ones that start with A from it. Okay. Now, if I wanted to copy all the folders that start with B under etc, so cp-r recursively, under root, there's a folder called etc that contains all the files and folders that start with the letter B. Copy them to // there's a folder called home that contains my folder called Nasser. Copy them there. Of course, it says permission denied for /etc/brl-api.key. I understand that. Maybe that is a very sensitive file. System doesn't want to allow me access to that. Okay, that's fine. But if I want to check whether there have been files copied under my folder, I will do ls under /. There's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser. And lo and behold, I do see there is A columns, then there is a B column, as you can see right there. This is A column, then there's a B column, as you can see. It did copy some B files. Now, let's go ahead and remove everything that starts with the A from my home directory. If I say and of course, the reason why I will use -r is because it's a combination of folders and files. So if it's a file, if it's a folder, I don't care, delete it recursively. So if I do rm -r under /, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, I want to delete everything that start. By the way, if I simply left like that, is it not going to delete everything? Oh, yes, it is. But I want to be explicit. I want to be specific. I want to delete certain criterion. So I will say delete something that starts with the A. So now what I'm saying is anything that starts with the A, get rid of that. I will hit enter. And now when I list ls under /, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser. Now I am only left with B. So now if I do rm -r for recursive deletion under /, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser. And inside of that, I want to delete all the files that start with B. That's how we end up deleting the files that start with B. Now, is this the right syntax? My beloved children, is this the right syntax? Am I saying all the files whose names start with B or whose names end with B? Yeah, we're talking about ending, so that's the wrong syntax because everything that ends with B. No, but I want to say everything that starts with B. On the left side would be the start, on the right side would be the end. Okay, very good. So now if I hit enter, oh, descend to right protected, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, go ahead, delete that. Permission denied. Okay, certain files I may not be able to delete, okay, because of some permissions. So now if I do, by the way, let me try deleting with force. Let me see if force allows me to delete that. If I hit enter, it still doesn't allow me, so I cannot delete that, apparently. Okay, why? Of course, due to some permissions issues. So if I list under slash, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser. Okay, Bluetooth. I could not delete this folder. Why? Why could I not delete this folder? Let me use the up arrow to, re-execute that command. If I do tree in my slash, there's a folder called home containing Nasser. Why? There's a main.conf there. Of course, if I long list slash home slash Nasser, just to take a look at the permissions. Okay, those permissions are fine. But in Bluetooth, there's a file called main.conf. I want to see what are the permissions there. Under slash, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser that contains a folder called Bluetooth. If I long list that, I can see that could you combine it and delete file that starts with B and ends with, let's say, D? Yes, you can do that. That's right, Omar, you can do that. Yeah.
Wait, this is read only. We cannot because we don't have write permission. So how we can delete it?
We don't have write permissions.
Yeah.
On the
This is only read only and executable. So why we are able to copy because of because of
we
this
can read it.
execution. We can only read and execute.
Okay, I see. Right, because of the permissions. Oh, we will cover that, and we will cover that. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. So, excuse me. Yeah, because of the permissions, we again, permission denied, right? Because we don't have the permission to be able to write to it, so we cannot delete it. We will cover the permissions, inshallah, one of the next sessions. But at the moment, this is where I'm going to pause. We have about like 3 minutes left. So session is, almost at the end of top of the hour. Can you move Bluetooth? Yes, you can. You should be able to move Bluetooth, right? So if I do ls under slash, under root, there's a folder called home, and that has a folder called Nasser. Inside of that, there's a Bluetooth folder. If I wanted to rename that in the same location, I can do mv slash home slash Nasser, and the folder name is Bluetooth. Let me try to rename it inside the same location. Under slash, there's a folder called home, and inside of that, there's a folder called Nasser that contains a folder called, let me rename it to my dash Bluetooth. Blue dash tooth. Bluetooth. All right, my dash Bluetooth. Okay, well, looks like it did something, but let's confirm whether the name has been established. So we'll do ls under slash. There's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser. So it allowed us to be able to rename it. But am I able to delete this folder recursively and forcefully? Slash home under slash, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser that contains another folder called my Bluetooth. Let me remove that. So well, of course, the first thing is the permission denied. Well, what are the permissions? Why permissions have been denied? So how do we list the permissions, folks? How do we long list the files or folders to see the permissions? So we use -L, and under slash, there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser that contains a folder called my blue. So now we do have read write. Well, now the permission, somebody's playing games here. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Simba. I appreciate it. So now this, hold on, where'd it go? We didn't want to long list that. We wanted to do long list the directory. Yeah. So do we have this? read write. We don't have the write permissions. We have write permissions on the file. If you wanted to delete that we could do. So if I want to delete the file inside of Bluetooth called main.conf, let's see. If I do rm inside of / there's a folder called home that contains a folder called Nasser that contains a folder called my Bluetooth that contains a file called main.conf. Let me see if I could delete that. Well, that is denying me the permission. Why? Because the parent directory, the Bluetooth, it forbids me from being able to do the read and write to it, right? So I cannot go ahead and delete that file because obviously it's a if you do tree in /home/Nasser. So the permissions, they start from the top, from root, going to home, into Nasser, then into my Bluetooth, and then to that file. So before I even get to this main.conf, this guy is denying me permission. So if I cannot traverse through, my command cannot traverse through that. So we have to bear that in mind. Folks, it's 3 at the dot. I'm going to stop here, pause here, and inshallah, we will continue learning this on our next session. And can we delete the file first? You can. Yeah, exactly. That's what we attempted to delete. We tried to delete the file, permission denied. But because the parent directory doesn't allow us, so we cannot do that. But that's your folder. Why is it denying? I can do that. I would have to change the permissions. That's a different topic, changing the permissions. And then, being able to changing the permissions to read, write, execute, and then we should be able to delete that. Okay. With that being said, folks, this is where we're going to stop, and inshallah, we will continue our learning on the tomorrow's session. Anybody has any questions that I can address for you? Please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Somebody's asking the question. We have a class tomorrow at 12, and then Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. That is correct. We have class tomorrow at 12. Then we have class on Tuesday and Thursday. You guys were given the homework. Go ahead and take care of that homework. And let's see over here. I want to thank all of you guys for joining today's session. And special thanks to those who made the payment on time. With your payments, I was able to give about $40,000 charity. Some of the project we started, the water projects, some of the money went to Palestine for the children who are suffering. And so thank you once again. That burden is lifted off of my chest, the money that I owed. So alhamdulillah, I was able to give that money back to the needy people. Hey, I missed the section on Slack. How do I register on Slack? If you have an email, follow instructions in the email. Is the homework lab 2? That is correct. When is it due? Try to do it tonight. Okay, try to do this tonight and come back tomorrow ready to be quizzed on that. All right. Any other questions over here?